So now we have Brother Yaqub. He will be talking about botany.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I will be talking about, as Brother Tanvir Khan said, I will be talking about botany and how botany is referred to in the Quran, and modern science has proved this multiple times. So the Quran states in Surah Taha, verse number 53, chapter 20, verse number 53, وَأَنزَلَ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً فَأَخْرَجْنَا بِهِ أَزْوَاجًا مِّن نَبَاتٍ شَتَّى, and has sent down water from the sky. With it have we produced diverse pairs of plants, each separate from the others. So once again, this is in Surah Taha, chapter 20, verse number 53. Now, this verse not only talks about how Allah has sent down water from the sky, as stated in Hafiz Shihab Chaudhry's speech yesterday. It also talks about, but with it talks about the creation of many different species of plants, each with male and female parts respectively. For the male, you have the stamen, and in it has the two parts, the anthers and the filaments. The anthers carry the pollen, and these are generally yellow in color. The anthers are held up by a thread-like part called the filament. The pistil, which is the female reproductive system in the plant, the pistil has three parts: the stigma, the style, and the ovary. The stigma is the sticky surface at the top of the pistil, and it traps and it holds the pollen from the male part. The style is the tube-like structure that holds up the stigma, much like the filaments to the anthers. And the style leads down to the ovary that contains the ovules. Other parts of the flower that are important are the petals and the sepals. The petals attract pollinators and are usually the reason why we buy and enjoy flowers. Like, you know, when you buy somebody a rose and you sniff the rose, that's what's attracted to you, the petals. The sepals are the green petal-like parts at the base of the flower. So if you look closely at some flowers, you'll see a green base, and that is the sepal. Sepals help protect the developing bud inside the ovules. Flowers can either have all male parts, all female parts, or a combination. So there are some plants that are both genders. Flowers that have both male and female parts are called perfect. They're called perfect flowers, like a rose or a lily or a dandelion. Now, it took the discovery. It took so long to discover this. For more than 20 years, from today, 20 years back, the question about the genders of flowers, it was asked many times, and it confused, it preoccupied the botanist Lincoln Tays, a professor emeritus of molecular cell and developmental biology at UC Santa Cruz, and his wife Lee Tays, who worked in his lab as a research biologist. Their book, Flora Unveiled: The Discovery and Denial of Sex in Plants, offers a deep history of perceptions about plant gender and sexuality from the Paleolithic age to the 19th century. The book presents compelling evidence of a long-standing gender bias in the perception of plants as female, preventing the discovery of both sexes until the late 17th century, and causing the new sexual theory to remain controversial for another, say, 150 years. Now, think about it. The late 17th century, that's the 1600s. That's 1,000 years after the Quran was revealed. And the Quran had known this. It had stated it in Surah Taha, verse number 53, that they have sent multiple species of plants with their own male and female parts respectively. And the modern science had not discovered it until 1,000 years later. And now it's common knowledge. Maybe you'll learn it in maybe 2nd or 3rd grade in elementary school. You'll learn that flowers have different parts. There are male and female flowers. And maybe later on you'll learn that there are some flowers that have both genders, like I said before, roses, lilies, or dandelions. So now we can go on to our next ayah. This is in Surah Ra'd, verse number 3. وَمِن كُلِّ الثَّمَرَاتِ جَعَلَ فِيهَا زَوْجَيْنِ اثْنَيْنِ. And fruit of every kind he made in pairs, 2 and 2. Once again, this is in Surah Ra'd, verse number 3. It talks about how Allah makes the fruit in pairs in addition to plants. So plants had pairs, they had the male and female, and now we're saying that fruits have pairs as well. Fruits have male and female. So the fruit would be the end product of the reproduction of the superior plants, the plants before them. The stage preceding the fruit is the flower, which we talked about already, which has male and female organs, the stamens and the ovules and such. Once pollen has been carried to the flower, they bear fruit, which in turn matures and frees its seed, which is the fruit that we're going to talk about. All fruits therefore imply the existence of male and female organs, a fact that is mentioned in the Quran. In certain species, fruit can come from non-fertilized flowers, like bananas, certain types of pineapple, fig, orange, vines, etc. They also have definite sexual characteristics. So you can see that the Quran says that fruits come in male, they come in male and female, they come in pairs as well as plants. And you can see that in modern science when they talk about how when the pollen is carried to the flower, they bear the fruit, and the fruit would implicate the gender of the flower that had come from it. Now, if we go to our next ayah, in Surah Dhariyat, verse number 49. وَمِن كُلِّ شَيْءٍ خَلَقْنَا زَوْجَيْنِ. And of everything we have created pairs. So, this ayah is talking about how not only plants and fruits, but everything was made in pairs. This obviously refers to living things, as you know, like rocks can't have pairs. But things like insects, animals, and plants and humans have pairs. This ayah shouldn't really need an explanation, as it's very straightforward. Every single living thing has a counterpart. It has a pair. I think I've given substantial evidence to prove this claim, talking about the fruits and the plants before. So if we go to our next ayah, which is very similar to the last one, it is in Surah Yasin, verse number 36. سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون. Glory to Allah who created in pairs all things that the earth produces, as well as their own humankind and other things of which they have no knowledge. So once again, this is in Surah Yasin, chapter 36, verse number 36. And it's quite a coincidence how both numbers are a pair of each other, 36 and 36, which is why we'll talk about how this ayah, I said it's very similar to the last, but it clears one thing up for us. If you look at the last ayah, it says everything we have created pairs. Now this would maybe confuse some of you, saying why, like some items that we have, like rocks, they can't have pairs. Houses, they don't have pairs. But this is why this ayah clears it up for us. It's saying that everything that the earth produces, meaning plants or animals or trees or humans, this is what have pairs. And many other things that aren't really tangible, like forces, like push and pull. Attraction and repulsion in magnets, they have their own pair. That's their own pair. That's one contradicts the other. They're together. They're intertwined. You can't have one without the other. You can't have repulsion without attraction, and you can't have attraction without repulsion. So, as I said before, it doesn't refer to literally everything, as explained in the ayah. It talks about from the produce of the earth. And again, I said the coincidence of them both having the surah number 36 and the ayah number 36. So this in and of itself has its own pair. And you have not only things like plants or animals or humans, but you have things like plants. They have their own male and female. You have light and dark. They're their own pair. You have good and bad. You have their own pair. You have push and pull. You have give and take. Other things as well. They all have their counterparts and their opposites. So to summarize what we did today, I talked about botany, and I said how everything was created in pairs. Everything has their own counterpart, maybe male or female or good and bad. Everything has their own counterpart, as proven in all of these ayahs from Surah Taha. You have a verse from Surah Taha, you have a verse from Surah Ra'd, you have a verse from Surah Dhariyat, and you have a verse from Surah Yasin. I believe I've given substantial evidence to prove the fact that everything that Allah has sent down, or everything on the earth that has been a produce from the earth, has their own pair or counterpart. And Brother Tanvir Khan, he talked today about physiology and different things that have been proven by modern science that Quran claims. And Brother Abdul Latif Mahsen Huda, he talked about how hadith claims that there are 360 joints in the body, and how modern science can prove that. With that, I would like to end here. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. والسلام عليكم
ورحمة الله وبركاته.